Hey guys, before the video starts, please subscribe to my friends and Mario Master 7 and Lightning Jontion. Links will be in the description below. Hello everyone, Manny from the Game of Manny channel here, and Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Boosted Course Pack has been out for a month, and I really enjoy playing the Wave 4 tracks. And now we only have 2 waves left for the DLC to come out. We also got Bertle, and a confirmation that 5 more characters are coming in the future waves. So in this video, I will be sharing my thoughts on the Wave 4 tracks, as well as predicting 5 characters I would like to see in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. But first, let's start off with the tracks first, which is the main reason y'all here for. This wave includes 1 GBA track, Riverside Park, 1 Wii track, DK Summit, 1 DS track, Mario Circuit, and this is the first wave to include a GCN track, which is Waluigi Stadium, as well as there are 4 tour tracks, 3 cities, and 1 non-city, which I'll talk about that one later. So with that being said, let's get on to the video. The first track of the Fruit Cup is Amsterdam Drift from Mario Kart Tour. Amsterdam Drift first debuted in the Amsterdam Tour back in April 2022 in Mario Kart Tour. Amsterdam Drift has been given 3 different variants in Mario Kart Tour. The first variant in the tour that I already mentioned 3 seconds ago, Amsterdam Drift 2 in the Metropolitan Tour, and Amsterdam Drift 3 in the second Peach vs. Bowser Tour. And much like every other city tracks in the DLC, Amsterdam Drift is also combined with its variants. Now when it comes to the city tour tracks, I did have to do some research for the names of the famous landmarks. The first lap is based on the very first Amsterdam Drift, where the racer starts at the Damrak Street, then heading towards to the Amsterdam Central Station, where you encounter a glider panel that will take you to the next area with windmills called Zanchi Scans. I'm sorry that I butchered. Which, not gonna lie, this section with the windmills reminds me of 3DS Daisy Hills. There are also multi-modes to watch out for. After exiting the Zanchi Scans, you return to the city, but there are trams to look out for. In Mario Kart Tour, you can trick off with the trams, similar to the train in Calamari Desert in the game, but in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they instead hit the racers. And then you've reached to the second lap. The second lap is based on Amsterdam 2R. While GBA Blue Lake is the very first track in the DLC to feature on the water section, Amsterdam Drift is the very first Tour City track to have that feature. There's also the boat where it's possible to get access by going through the middle current. In my opinion, the underwater section on this track feels so much better than Tour's version because the underwater physics in that game is pretty bad. And then we reach to the final lap, which is based on Amsterdam 3R and regular Amsterdam Drift 3. The first few seconds is Amsterdam Drift 3R, where you go to the right but there's a tram to watch out for. But the track quickly becomes a normal variant of Amsterdam Drift 3, which leads you to the tulip fields called Keckleon. Again, I'm sorry for butchering. With piranha plants. After going to the tulip fields, you enter the Okay, you know what, I'm not good at this. And return to the cities once more to finish the race. In my opinion, I did enjoy playing the original Amsterdam Drifts 1, 2, 3 in Mario Kart Tour. In my opinion, Amsterdam Drift's inclusion in Wave 4 does make a lot of sense since it's much more of a sprint track. It's really a decent track, but I'm not a huge fan of those sharp turns in the final lap, especially when you're playing the track in 200cc. As for the music though, the music in this track is pretty good. I remember back when I first heard the music in the tour version of Amsterdam Drift, the thing I like about the Amsterdam Drift music is the chorus, as it gives me some ARMS vibes. And I like how even more chorus was added in this version. So yeah, that's Amsterdam Drift. Moving on to the next track. Next up, the second track of the Fruit Cup is Riverside Park from Mario Kart Super Circuit. Riverside Park is the third track in the Mushroom Cup in its original game. The track would later return in Mario Kart Tour and the Animal Tour alongside GCN DK Mountain. And much like the other tracks in the DLC, taking its appearance from Mario Kart Tour, Riverside Park has been given a huge glow up with the visuals. There's actual grass, it has a new skybox from being cartoony in the tour version to become realistic in this version, similar to Blue Lake. And the water is so beautiful, and there's even patooey plants from Super Mario Bros. 3 that are added. These patooey plants will have different items, hitting them will drop an item. The track begins with the player heading towards right instead of left, which is where the U-turn used to be at. But since this is modern Mario Kart, the U-turn has been removed. You'll also encounter a wooden ramp, which used to be a dash ramp from the original and the tour version. You'll encounter patooies and muds along the way. There's even a cave section in the loop before the finish line. You exit the cave by going through a waterfall, which leads you to the end of the track for the next lap. Ever since GBA Bootleg got added in Mario Kart Tour before 8 Deluxe, as a GBA fan, I really appreciate how Nintendo revamping the GBA tracks in both Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart Tour. Tracks like Sky Garden. And yes, I do like Sky Garden's revamp, so I'm defending that track. Sunset Wild, Snowland, etc. Heck, Mario Kart Super Circuit has been given so much treatment, not just in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, but there's a lot that got added in Mario Kart Tour. Last year, 5 GBA tracks that were added in Tour. 3 out of 5 came to the DLC, Sky Garden, Boo Lake, and Riverside Park. Snowland came to the DLC first before it was added in Mario Kart Tour. It's like Nintendo's giving the GBA tracks some love. Except for the GBA Bounce Castle, unfortunately. As for the music, it's alright. I mostly prefer the original GBA music of Riverside Park. The tour version of the song really didn't hit me that much. It's not bad, it's just meh. This version of the song in the DLC, however, is a better improvement than Tour. Riverside Park, as well as Mario Kart Super Circuit in general, is pretty underrated. This is a track I would like to come back, whether it's in the original or this version. I was honestly expecting Sunset Wilds or Cheep Cheep Island to be in this wave, even though Sunset Wilds was data mined for Wave 5 according to the music leak, but Riverside Park is a better choice than Cheep Cheep Island in my opinion. Anyways, that's Riverside Park, moving on to the third track. The third track of the Fruit Cup is DK Summit, also known as DK Snowboard Cross in Europe, from Mario Kart Wii. Not gonna lie, the name DK Snowboard Cross sounds way better than DK Summit in my opinion. Anyways, it was the third track in the Flower Cup in its original game. The track would later return to Mario Kart Tour in the Snow Tour. This is the third snow track to be added in the DLC, with others being GBA Snowland in Wave 2 and Tour Merry Mountain in Wave 3. The race begins with a giant barrel cannon that leads you to the U-turn. You stumble across half pipes, as there are so many of them. There are also many bumps and ramps you can trick off, and of course the infamous section with the snowboarding Shy Guys. There are also deep snow that you will have to avoid, which it will slow you down. Another great Wii track to be added in the DLC. I highly doubt that this track will make it to the DLC due to Mario Kart 8 lacking half pipes, but then, when Merry Mountain was revealed for Wave 3, Maple Treeway in the full Wave 3 reveal trailer, and then the launch of Wave 3, half pipes made their return with Maple Treeway and Merry Mountain, which created this track's highest possibility chances to be in the DLC, and lo and behold, we got it. And not gonna lie, the half pipes in this track feel so much better than Maple Treeways in my opinion. And the music is so phenomenal, and I'm glad they kept the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the beginning of the music. Alright, the final track of the Fruit Cup is Yoshi's Island from Mario Kart Tour. And yes, you heard that right. Now I know you guys are gonna comment,
"But Manny, what are you talking about? Yoshi's Island is not a tour track, it's an original track for a DLC, idiot."
Well, let me explain why I call this a tour track. So I have been keeping up with the data mines for the Booster Course Pass with the banner and the prefix leak back when Wave 1 was launched, as well as the music leak during Wave 2's launch. But I also have been keeping up with the data mines for Mario Kart Tour as well, since there is a strong connection between the Booster Course Pass and Mario Kart Tour. There are 8 file names for unreleased tracks for Tour, 3 unreleased city tracks, and 5 non-city tracks. One of them is filed Mob YI. Another thing to know about this is that MOB stands for mobile, indicating that these tracks are Mario Kart Tour's Nitros. And during the time of this recording, Yoshi's Island just recently got added in Mario Kart Tour, and just like with Sky High Sundae, it doesn't have the prefix in Tour. With that being said, while it's true that the track itself and Sky High Sundae debuted in the Booster Course Pass, but that doesn't mean that these tracks are quote-unquote Mario Kart 8 Deluxe original tracks, as these tracks are heavily designed for Mario Kart Tour. Heck, even the track itself, alongside Ninja Highway, Sky High Sundae, and Merry Mountain, don't have the Tour prefix. I thought of doing a video about this particular topic in the future. With that being said, let's talk about the Yoshi's Island track itself. This track, as the name implies, takes place in Yoshi's Island, but the track itself is entirely based on the Super Nintendo game with the same name. The race begins underneath Yoshi's house in World 1. You drive towards to the underwater section of the forest area, which is based on World 3. After driving through the underwater section, you enter a small castle, which I believe is the Podic Ghost Castle from World 2, as well as entering to the cave. After exiting through the cave, you head towards the volcano, and there's a glider panel which will take you to the sky section, which is World 5. There's another glider panel that leads you to the ground. While gliding after exiting the sky section, there's a wing cloud which is very difficult to get. If you touch the cloud, the stairs will appear, and then you return to Yoshi's house for the next lap. This track held so many references to the Super Nintendo game. So many characters from the Yoshi's Island series, including Stilt Shy Guys, Huffin' Puffin, acting as obstacles, the Chain Chops in the background, the Pedal Guys, the Goonies, and even the giant Nepinut. And this track has been given similar treatments to the F-Zero tracks, Hyrule Circuit, Animal Crossing, and Urchin Underpass. The regular coins are replaced with actual Yoshi coins. There's also many sound effects taken from the Super Nintendo game, similar to the F-Zero tracks in Animal Crossing, where those two tracks have their own fanfare. For the start of a race, you'll hear the familiar jingle, which is a level start theme from the original Super Nintendo game, and there's even its own fanfare when you finish the race. Which thankfully I'm glad they kept this in the tour version. And speaking of the music, I really love the new remix of the Athletics theme. It makes the tracks feel alive. This is by far one of the best tracks in Wave 4, as well as the entire boosted chorus paths in general. While my favorite tracks in Mario Kart history is Ninja Highway and Calamari Desert. But after playing this track, it started to becoming my new favorite track added to the list. It's one of the tracks that I'm deeply excited for ever since it was first shown in the February Nintendo Direct. And that wraps up with the Fruit Cup. If I could pick my favorite tracks from this cup, it'll be both Riverside Park and Yoshi's Island. So now, let's move on to the next cup, being the Boomerang Cup. Alright, the first track of the Boomerang Cup is Bangkok Rush from Mario Kart Tour, a city track that takes place in Bangkok, Thailand. Bangkok Rush debuted in Mario Kart Tour in the Bangkok Tour, and just like with Amsterdam Drift and the rest of the city tracks in Mario Kart Tour, Bangkok Rush is given 3 different variants, Bangkok Rush 1 from the tour that I already mentioned, as well as Bangkok Rush 2 and 3 in the same tour being the Winter 2023 tour. The first lap is based on Bangkok Rush 1, as the race starts at the Grand Palace facing the Wadarun. You go left to the Chao Phraya River, with boats that you can trick off, then heading towards the Maklong Railway Market, right next to the Democracy Monument and near to the King Power Mahanakan. In the market section, you have 2 different options to go, whether it's at the top or below. Then you make a U-turn to the BTS SkyTrain. Also, before you say anything, no, the name does not mean the K-pop thingy. The BTS stands for Bangkok Mass Transit System. Wait a minute, shouldn't it be called BMTS? And just like before, you also have 2 different options, the top or below. And finally, you make the last 2 turns in before triggering lap 2, passing the giant Geisha statue and the Buddha Friasaya. Lap 2 is based on Bangkok Rush 3, even though the lap starts with the route taken from Bangkok Rush 2, which leads you to the streets with markets. But you are forced to go to the glider ramp to glide through the giant swing and the Democracy Monument, which that route with the glider section is from Bangkok Rush 3. Anyways, you then turn right to the route that is next to the Chao Phraya River. There's also side steppers to watch out for before heading to the final lap. The final lap is very similar to lap 2. The final lap is based on Bangkok Rush 2, even though the lap starts with the route taken from Bangkok Rush 3. And this lap leads you to the parking garage, which makes you to jump to the Talat Rotfai. And the last few turns took place in the BTS SkyTrain from lap 1 to finish the race entirely. Honestly, I never thought we would be getting this track in this wave, since this track was originally going to be in Wave 5 in the Cherry Cup as the first track according to the music leak. And if this track was in Wave 5 instead of 4, we would have got a track being Los Angeles Laps, since that track was originally supposed to be in this cup as the last track according to the music leak, of course. As for the track itself, well, I love the minimap looks in this game, and I like the new remix as well. However, there are two things I don't like in this DLC. The first one is being the atmosphere is much pale and foggy. While the foggy effects works really well in London Loop, but in Bangkok Rush, not really in my opinion. I wish Nintendo could kept the original atmosphere from the tour version, which it has a beautiful sunset. Another thing I don't like in this version is the removal of inky piranha plants. Why on earth would Nintendo remove a unique hazard from the original tour version and replace them with just regular piranha plants? Also, as a matter of fact, I never even noticed it when I first played this track in the DLC until I replayed the track again. Anyways, that's Bangkok Rush. It's a unique city track. I just wish they could kept the beautiful sunset and the inky piranha plants in this version. The second track of the Boomerang Cup is DS Mario Circuit from Mario Kart DS. This iteration of Mario Circuit is the third track for the Star Cup in the original game. DS Mario Circuit made a return in Mario Kart Tour in the Mario 2023 Tour. The race begins where you head towards right. There will also be Goombas for you to watch out to avoid, as well as 2 fire piranha plants that will shoot fire at you. There is also a pipe that you can enter, leading you to the forest area with a giant Wiggler sleeping. Oh, by the way, the Wiggler doesn't appear in the tour version. After exiting the forest, you race through the area with regular piranha plants, as well as the S-turn, finishing the lap. Now, not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed, and I do have a reason. My main reason why I'm disappointed for this track's inclusion in the DLC is that according to the prefix data mine, Wave 5 and 6 won't have any more DS tracks, meaning that Wave 4 will have the last DS track for the DLC. Many people, including myself, believe it's either Airship Fortress, Delfino Square, or Luigi's Mansion, since these 3 tracks are the most iconic tracks in Mario Kart DS. The DS track I really wanted the most out of these 3 is DS Luigi's Mansion. Now don't get me wrong, I'm going to be hypocritical for this, but I don't hate this track. But there are good things I can give this track a pass. 1, it's not figure 8 circuit. 2, a forest section is a nice addition as well as a giant wiggler. The music is okay, and it's an underrated track. So my thoughts on this track now. I'm still disappointed that it's not any of the 3 tracks I mentioned, mostly Luigi's Mansion. But there are those who love this track's inclusion. If you're happy for this track's inclusion, perfect. If you're disappointed for this track's inclusion, it's okay. Do keep in mind, we have our own opinions. So now let's move on to the third track. The third track of the Boomerang Cup is the very first track from Mario Kart Double Dash in the DLC entirely, Waluigi Stadium. Waluigi Stadium is the last track in the Flower Cup in its original game. The track made a return in Mario Kart Wii as the last track in the Banana Cup. As of now, this is the only track that is not yet announced for Tour. The race starts by going right twice. There's also a half pipe from the Wii version of this track, which is entirely optional if you want to get those item boxes. Then there's a dash ramp that leads you to the first fire ring. After going through the fire ring, you have 2 different options, take the shortcut or the regular route. Then you go left where there are a bunch of fire bars, mechanical piranha plants, as well as there's also half pipes in both sides, similar to DK Summit. In addition to this remake, a brand new route with anti-gravity has been added that requires the use of half pipes. There is also a second route just like it from before, which also requires a half pipe, but the second route also includes a glide ramp at the end that takes you to the end of the lap. And holy crap, the visuals on this track is so phenomenal. This is a track that looks like it belongs to the base game. I'm a huge fan of this track when I played this back in Mario Kart Wii, and I'm really loving the remake, especially the music as well. And here's an interesting fact. We were supposed to get this track in the last wave for the Moon Cup, but got replaced with Maple Treeway since that track was supposed to be in Wave 6 as a second track for the Acorn Cup. Ever since the switcheroo, I was expecting that this track would be in Wave 6 in the same spot as Maple Treeway, but instead we get this track earlier. And I'm happy about it. And now let's move on to the last track in the Boomerang Cup, as well as the entire Wave 4. The last track for the Boomerang Cup is Singapore Speedway from Mario Kart Tour. Singapore Speedway debuted in Mario Kart Tour in the Singapore Tour. More variants of this track were also added in other tours. Singapore Speedway 1 in Singapore Tour, the second variant in the Ocean Tour, and the third variant in the Winter 2023 Tour, just like with Bangkok Rush 2 and 3. The first lap is based on Singapore Speedway 1. There's a cannon that shoots you to the Marina Bay Sands, with Goombas in their tubes. How cute! After going through this section, there is also a glide ramp at the end, which will glide you down to the float at Marina Bay, before finishing the lap. And now here's the second lap, which is very interesting as it combines all three variants in one single lap. You take the same route from before, but instead of going to the cannon, you're forced to go to the Chinatown from Singapore Speedway 3. After racing through the Chinatown, you go right, which is the Singapore Speedway 2 route, to the Merlion Park, and the glide ramp for you to glide towards beneath the Marina Bay Sands, which will trigger the third and final lap of this track. The final lap is a combination between Singapore Speedway 2 and 3. The first lap is based on Singapore Speedway 2 by going through the garden by the bay, and the Helix Bridge. After going through those two landmarks, you are directly racing towards Singapore Speedway 3 by gliding over the Art Science Museum and the float at Marina Bay. There's also boost range for glider users to use. And finally, you return back to Chinatown for one last time before finishing the race. I never played Singapore Speedway 1 when it was introduced in Tour to the Singapore Tour, but I did get to play the track in the Ocean Tour. But I'm really glad that this version kept the Chinatown music for this track, as the version is pretty much a banger to listen to. But I did have a blast with this track, probably the best city track in this wave. And with that concludes my thoughts on this wave. But that doesn't mean that this video is over yet. It's also worth mentioning that this wave also includes Birdo, as well as a confirmation that 5 more DLC characters are coming in future waves. So for this next part, I'm going to be predicting 5 characters that I would like to see in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Fun fact, I was working on the character prediction list for a video before Nintendo dropped the full Wave 4 trailer. However, I do have some rules for this. Rule number 1, no clone characters. I know a lot of people don't want any of the clone characters to be added. I saw people saying that they were taking slots from other characters. Nintendo should make clone characters like Tanuki Mario as a null for Mario. So the characters you won't be seeing in this list are Peachette and Captain Toad. Both of them are being clones for Toad and Toad. If Nintendo ever considering adding them, make them as alts just like with Yoshi, Shy Guy, Link, and Birdo. Rule number 2, only characters that appear in Mario Kart Tour. It does make sense, as I mentioned this before, that there is a strong connection between the Booster Course Pass and Mario Kart Tour. First off, let's take a look at the characters that have returned in Mario Kart Tour. Being Donkey Kong Jr., Birdo, which we actually got in Wave 4, Diddy Kong, Petey Piranha, and Funky Kong. However, there's also characters that made their debut in the Mario Kart series with Mario Kart Tour, being Pauline, Hammer, Boomerang, Ice, Fire Bros, Monty Mole, Dixie Kong, Nabbit, King Bob-omb, Kamek, the bane of my existence, and the recently added original character, Poochie. But there won't be characters that have yet to return in Mario Kart Tour, being Honey Queen, Wiggler, or Rob. In addition, with Rob's case, there won't be any crossover characters as well. Sure, the last row contains the crossover characters, but just because the last slot is in the row with the crossover characters, doesn't entirely mean that we'll be getting a new crossover character. As a matter of fact, Mario Kart Tour doesn't have a single crossover characters in their roster. So yeah, you won't be seeing characters like Kirby, Pac-Man, Captain Falcon, Sonic, or Shrek. I'm sorry that I had to break your hopes and dreams, but this is something I would like to call the rules of Mario Kart Tour. Alright, now with that out of the way, 5 characters I would like to see in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 5, Pauline. Let's be real, Pauline is very likely going to be in the DLC. Ever since her appearance in Super Mario Odyssey, Pauline has been appearing in many of the Mario spin-off games. Mario Tennis Aces, Mario Strikers Battle League, Mario Golf Super Rush. Pauline does make her Mario Kart appearance with Mario Kart Tour starting in the New York Tour, the very first tour in the game when the game launched back in 2019. Now there's something interesting about Pauline from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Since Mario Kart 8 Deluxe having bikes in the game, characters like the princesses all have their own biker outfits, so it's very likely that Nintendo will give Pauline her own biker outfit. So with that being said, the chances of Pauline is very high, and I'll be shocked if Pauline doesn't make it in. Number 4, Petey Piranha. Many people, including myself, want to see Petey Piranha in the DLC. The chances of Petey Piranha to be added into the DLC is very high, since Mario Kart Tour introduced a track called Piranha Plant Cove, which was introduced in the Exploration 2023 tour. This track was revealed through the official Mario Kart Tour Twitter page, just a week before the Yoshi's Island reveal in the Nintendo Direct. Now to any of those who never seen this track before as well as never played Tour, well, here's a quick explanation. Piranha Plant Cove is an ancient ruins containing an underwater section. Think of it like Swamp Ruins in Piranha Plant's life or Dolphin Shoals Had a Baby. The track also contains tons of hieroglyphics of piranha plants, falling pillars, and of course, statues of Petey Piranha head in the staircase. This course also has 2 different variants, so expect that in the DLC. As of now, there is no third variant, but the route is found in the data for the tour. With the inclusion of Piranha Plant Cove, alongside with Petey Piranha will be amazing to see. Number 3. Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr.'s Mario Kart debut is all the way back in the original Super Mario Kart, and he hasn't returned until Mario Kart Tour and the Super Mario Kart Tour back in September 2020, during the Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary event. Oh god, I totally forgot about this. Here's something really interesting about Donkey Kong Jr.'s inclusion in Mario Kart Tour. Donkey Kong Jr. in Mario Kart Tour is a 2D sprite character. In addition, DK Jr. also contains sound effects from the original Super Mario Kart game. Now I know DK Jr. is very unlikely for the DLC, but you have to admit, having a character that's entirely 2D in a 3D game like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would be very cool. Number 2. Kamek. Now Kamek has a very interesting history in the Mario Kart series. Starting with Mario Kart 64, he was originally planned to be in the game, but was replaced by Donkey Kong in the final release. Then jumping to the original Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, there is an unused emblem for Kamek in the game's files, meaning that he was originally planned to be in the DLC at some point, whether it's a base game or one of the DLC packs. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was bummed that we didn't get Kamek in Wave 4 because of Yoshi's Island, which would make lots of sense since Kamek is the main antagonist in the Yoshi series. Nintendo, you had one perfect opportunity and you threw out that opportunity. So, Nintendo, I expect to see Kamek in this game. But before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. King Bob-omb. King Bob-omb made his Mario Kart debut in Mario Kart DS as a boss in Mission 5. Then in Mario Kart Tour, he appeared in the Wild West Tour as a rival in the vs Mega King Bob-omb bonus challenge, until later became playable in the next tour, the Pirate Tour, making his playable debut in the Mario Kart series as well as the Mario series in general. Diddy Kong. It would be nice to have Diddy Kong in the DLC. Heck, he's DK's partner, and as of now we only have one Kong character, and that's just Donkey Kong. We need some Kongs in the DLC. Poochie. I was originally going to pick Charging Chuck, but Poochie is very iconic in the Yoshi series, and he's pretty adorable. I know he appears in the mailbox in the Yoshi's Island track, but still, it would be pretty nice to see Poochie in the game. And besides, I have a huge hatred towards Charging Chuck because of Mario Kart Tour, so Poochie would be a better choice in my opinion. As for number 1, Funky Kong. Yeah, you didn't see that coming. Funky Kong is a fan favorite character back in Mario Kart Wii. I remember playing with him a lot in online. And every time I boot up my Mario Kart Wii, I always like to choose him, so I can hear his upbeat personality. If we ever get to see Funky Kong in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I could see a lot of people will be picking him in online, just like in the old Mario Kart Wii days. Plus, I would cry if Nintendo bring this character in the DLC, or be heartbroken if Funky didn't make it in. But before I end the video, I have a few things to say. The DLC is starting to get a lot better and better ever since Wave 2. Wave 1 didn't have a good start, most notably with the visuals. I mean, look at Toad Circuit. Although you have some banger tracks in that wave like Ninja Hideaway and Choco Mountain. And then on Wave 2, the track selection in this wave is perfection. And is also my favorite wave because it contains my favorite track of all time. Then there's Wave 3, with even more banger tracks like Maple Treeway, Peach Gardens, and of course, the iconic 3DS Rainbow Road. Alongside with Wave 3, we also got custom item feature from a free update, which does not require the BCP, and now with Wave 4, we got characters. Most of the content that we've been getting are coming straight from Mario Kart Tour with the tracks and the characters. And I hope that Nintendo will continue bringing tons of Mario Kart Tour content into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because There's so many cool things that Mario Kart Tour has. It has an amount of roster, even though most of them are alts, but there are some originals I mentioned before. There are tons of variety cards in this game as well. There are returning cards like the Egg one from DS, the Koopa King from Double Dash, as well as the ones that are already in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And they also have their own different variants. But there are also Tour original cards like the Fast Frank, the Penguin Slider, Vampire Flyer, Combo Cruiser, Capsule Card, and more! Heck, there are even cards that are based on the city tracks, like the Roaring Racer for Singapore Speedway, the Quick Shot for Tokyo Blur, Double Decker for London Loop, and not only the variety of cards, but there is so many variety of gliders as well. And just like with the carts, there are also original gliders as well, like the Super Mario Kart glider, the Boo Mask, the Autumn Leaves, which is my favorite glider because the leaves fall when used. I hope Nintendo adds in carts and gliders from Mario Kart Tour to be added in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But there's more coming from Mario Kart Tour. Mario Kart Tour also has bonus challenge, which is similar to the mission mode from Mario Kart DS. There's Ring Race, Goomba Takedown, Steer Clear of Obstacles, and much more! Also there's time trials and Smash Small Dry Bones challenges in the game, but I never liked it and don't care about those two. You can race on tracks on reverse, which I highly would love to have that feature in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now of course there are some tracks like Mount Wario and Big Blue, which both of them are just section based tracks, and then there are tracks that changes routes in each lap, Every City Tour track, Calamari Desert, and Peach Gardens, but Nintendo could work things out if they ever consider bringing this idea to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If anyone from Nintendo is watching this, which I highly doubt, take these suggestions for the future of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Heck, maybe give us a second booster course pass with even more tracks if you ever consider. Plus there's so many banger tracks like DS Luigi's Mansion, Wii Toad's Factory, N64 Koopa Troopa Beach, and many more that deserves to be in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I know a lot of people might not want that, which is understandable, but I would be pleased if we ever get a second booster course pass, which there will be a video about that one. So anyways, that's all the time I have, and thank you guys so much for watching. And what's your favorite track in Wave 4? What are the 5 characters would you like to see in the DLC? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. And if this is your first time watching my content, why not subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this? This channel is almost about to hit 300 subscribers, so yeah, let's reach to that goal. So anyways, I'll see you guys on the next video, and take care. Bye bye.